So how to build a complete turnkey virtual sales organization all on straight commission. Okay? Who here would like to do that? Okay, I will teach you how to do that. Even if you think you don't want to do that, you're wrong. You will want to do it, okay? So our radio ads generate about 1,200 leads a week, 4,000 or 5,000 a month. The ads that you heard actually are pulling even better. All radio spots are educational based. They all teach something. In fact, Stan, can you get ready 26,000 products? Or start with a statistic that makes you say, wow. So again, all of our radio spots all have a wow factor, all teach something of value.
Hi, this is Tony Robbins. If you're a business owner, I'm sure you're noticing the massive changes that are occurring in the marketplace. There are 26,000 new products hitting the market every year, and up to 30% of consumers change brand loyalty in a single night of watching television. Add to that the impact of our economic times, and boy, you better be proactive if you own a business. How would you like strategies that can make you bulletproof against the turmoil of our economy and these fast-changing times? You probably heard of Chet Holmes, best-selling author and advisor to 60 Fortune 500 clients. But what you probably don't know is that I've recruited Chet and a team of world-leading business experts to help you grow your business in these tough times, and I'm doing it for free. We want to invest in you first by getting you bulletproof strategies that'll astonish you. Seriously, I'm going to introduce you and business owners to concepts that are going to reshape commerce. And if you're at the head of the curve, you'll take market share before your competitors even know what hit them. Call us and leave us a voicemail with your email, and we'll email you these business-shaping insights. Call 1-800-580.
So that starts with a wow. 26,000 new products every year, 30% of brand, people switch brands overnight. That's compelling, right? You guys want that report? Yeah. Right? Okay. So that pulled really well, that ad. Really unbelievable. And this is the commerce shaping stuff we're talking about. This stuff is going to reshape commerce. And those of you in this room who are at the early crest of this kind of educational marketing, it's like impossible to catch up. Companies that we've helped switch to this kind of selling, they start doubling, tripling, quadrupling their sales. There's people in this room who've had increases in response of 16,000%, 1,000%, 3,000% by using this material. You guys are at the cutting edge of this kind of information, and now that Tony's promoting it all over the world, it's going to spread really fast, so you better get on it, okay? The leads go to the salespeople working from home, and we have a virtual call center. So if you look at this over here, that's a list of the people who work from home. And what this does is it just routes the call off the radio, that 800 number, to people working out of their house. Some guy, when you call our organization, answers the phone, Robbins Research International, I can double your sales. Who am I speaking to? That guy is in his underwear. And we don't care. Okay? So that's a list of them. And if I could scroll that bar down there, you'd see there's about 53 of those guys sitting at home. In their underwear, maybe, I don't know. They're in their pajamas. It doesn't really matter. Answering the phone, Robbins Research International, right? Then we go further. This shows you the amount of calls, and here it says the date range. It's over a 12-day period. This person took 99 calls. This person took 132 calls. This woman sales rep took 129 calls. This sales rep took 134 calls. So over a 10-day business period, we never advertise on the weekends. Those are all the calls that they're taking. And this is all in that virtual call center. It's all tracked. So we can monitor and track everything, and we can have, right now, 53 salespeople. I think we have more than that. This was a month ago or a couple months ago. And then this shows you, this is over a 6-week period, that even though we're generating, as I told you, 1,000 leads a week, that 4,000 of them got answered live, and 2,000 of them went to voicemail. 2,000 leads went to voicemail. And by the way, these phone numbers, the individual phone numbers, shows us the amount of response per phone number. And guess what that phone number is? It's either a different ad or a different radio station. So you have 100% tracking capability of every single ad that's coming in. And the salespeople are all on straight commission because they just answer the phone. Robbins Research International, I can double your sales. Who am I speaking to? Oh, this is Joe Smith. Yeah, you're looking for the free report, right? Now, it says call and leave us a voicemail. Why do we do that? Because 2,000 calls still went to voicemail. So you get voicemail, you're not even a little surprised, right? You get a live person, you're like, oh, I thought I was going to get voicemail. Oh, yeah, most people do get voicemail because we get a lot of calls, but I can help you way more than voicemail. You got lucky, you got a live body. Oh, okay, you want the free reports, right? Yes, I do. Okay, great. Let me get your information. I'll get those right out to you. And then we go about helping those people, right? So then this shows you the next thing, if you go back here, it's like a little picture of a magnifying glass there. Click on the magnifying glass for an individual rep, and you can see every call that they took. This gives you caller ID, so we capture 100% of the phone numbers of every person who calls us. Even if they don't leave us a phone number, it doesn't matter. We've got caller ID in there. But if you probably can't see it, but as you go over, it tells you the city and town they're calling in from. It gives you their address. It's scary. This is all public information. And just from a computer on the call in, we're capturing all this information about every single person. And then that little speaker phone you see there, that little speaker thing, that is the ability to listen to the calls. So that revolutionized our world because now we can hear what these reps are saying and they know we're going to be listening. So they better stay with the script that we gave them to stay with. And sure as heck, I'm on there with a couple guys in the room, Rob and Michael, showing them this system for how to set up a virtual call center. And I go and I listen to one of the reps, and sure enough, it's some rep saying the exact wrong thing he should be saying with the CEO of all the companies listening to this thing. So this rep got tuned up really big time at the end of that conversation. Now we know it takes 11 to 14 minutes to make a sale from the time you call in. We're going to try and talk you into jumping onto one of our web seminars. You're calling in for information, and I want to convert you right on the spot to taking one of our web seminars. That would be the ultimate accomplishment for you. Your core story is so damn good that you can just run it out on the radio, and the average person will call in and pay to attend your core story. So every day, people pay to attend ours, and if you look at the times here, I can't see it myself. Actually, I can see it right here. Okay, so the top one says 30 seconds. That was a brush off. 6 minutes. I know it takes 11 to 14 minutes. The second one was 6 minutes. That guy did not make a sale. The next one is 17 minutes. That's probably a sale. The next one is 12 minutes. This particular guy I know is long-winded. I know he didn't make that sale. 4 minutes didn't make the sale. 15 minutes, probably a sale. 8 minutes didn't make a sale. 25 minutes, he better make that sale. You talk to a guy for 25 minutes, you better have taken his credit card and gotten him into one of our webinars, or I'm going to be upset because, by the way, you pay for this service by the minute. Okay? But it's cheap. You should hope you get a big bill, So if you're interested in having a virtual call center, there are 2 ways you can go. You can call them directly. There's their phone number, 888-550-2438. It's a really cool service. You can have all your employees work from home, or Tony and I have an alliance called Take It Virtual. It helps companies manage and transition the entire process. So again, I'm showing you here, I'm laying us open to you, showing you all of our strategies and techniques, using us as an example. So here's another radio spot.
Attention business owners. 45 million Americans now do some or all of their work from home. Companies by the droves are going virtual. This means everyone works from home. This is the way of the future, even for large companies. The benefits? We went virtual years ago, eliminating millions in office expense, which we put into growth initiatives that have helped us double sales 2 years in a row. We've worked out all the kinks, investigated hundreds of systems. We got this down to a science and can now show any company owner the tools and structure you need to take it virtual. You can record every call that goes into the homes of your staff, track all their activities, access all their data, expertly manage and see their activities, and from anywhere in the world, them or you as the company owner. And I can't tell you how much this has meant to me personally. I'm Chet Holmes, and I run 12 companies from my home with more freedom, better concentration, and less stress than ever before. There are some insights that make this work, and we like to give you those insights for free. If you're even a little interested in how you can eliminate office, telephone, and other expenses, increase star sales staff for little or no money, and get maximum tracking and productivity, all virtually, then call and leave us a voicemail to get our free report, Taking It Virtual. Call 800-570.
Good. What do you guys think? This sounds like a good spot, right? It sounds like a compelling offer, okay? That's something that we do. And again, I'm teaching you guys how to do it. You don't have to get our help at all. But if you want it, I just want to make it easy for you. Is that okay? Okay? But I'm teaching you what we do and how we do it, and it's going to go deeper. By the end of these 5 days, you're not going to have a question. But some people in this room will be like, you know what? Let's just have you guys do it, And I learned that the hard way, too. So can you play the high-end spot? This is another spot, too. Because I know some of you in this room fit this bill. Go ahead.
Attention business owners. You may have heard some of our radio messages. 6,000 CEOs telephone us every month. 99% of companies that call us are small, and boy do we have ways to make them more successful and profitable. But this message is for larger companies who are looking for more serious leverage. We helped a $2 billion company shift their strategy to being more educational in their approach, and their advertising response went up 16,000% in a single week. We helped a $10 million company concentrate on their appointment setting skills with intensity for 20 weeks, and they went from 4 appointments per rep per week to 12 to 16 appointments. That's a 300 or 400% increase. Same reps, just new skills, expertly and relentlessly implemented. We want to offer you a free breakthrough conversation that will rock your world. Heck, we'll give you the biggest breakthrough of your career as our opening gift just for calling and leaving us a voicemail with your email or post address. Call 800-330-2100. If you're doing over 10 million and up to 200 billion and want serious breakthroughs, call 800-330.
Okay, thank you. And I am making a really big point with all these radio spots and all these services because you should have a roster of things just like this. So that's our next exercise to take you guys. So let me show you our script. So they call in to get the free report. You need to get their data first. So you call in to get that free report, right? We send it to you by email. What's your email address? Bam, get the email. To make sure I send you the right report, what kind of business do you have? That's our next question. So then they tell us what kind of business we have. And then, okay, well that eliminates a bunch of reports. Well, I got a lot of really great reports in just about every area you can imagine. So can you tell me what your biggest challenge is? And now we're talking about their pain. And this is all like in the first 3 minutes of the conversation. You're going to build rapport, and then at some point you're going to say, you know, it sounds to me, reports are already on the way, because we do give them fantastic reports, and really killer reports. But I can tell you, because we track everything, we monitor everything, as you will do when we're done with you, you will become machine-like in your sales and marketing, machine-like precision by the time we're done with you here. I can tell you, most of those people never even read the articles that we send them. They never read them. So you're listening to that ad on the radio, and if we don't talk to you live, the chance of you doing something is like 0.6%. It's so small. So we know, and again, all those ads appeal to what kind of person? A CEO, an owner of a company, that's who we're interested in reaching. So our first webinars were free, and we never used radio because I couldn't justify a sales force, so it was all affiliate marketing. And we filled, hundreds of webinars with thousands of people, all through affiliate marketing, to get on our free webinar. So here's what would happen. How many people in this audience are busy as can be? You're busy as hell. Okay? You get this notice from somebody you trust, maybe Tony Robbins, and it says, I love this webinar, it's really great. You sign up for it, it's free. And at the last minute, you go, that free thing. And half the people who signed up for the free webinar didn't show up, and guess which half? All you guys, the guys we want, because you're here at this event, you're learning, you're investing in your business, that's the guy we want, that guy's too busy, and he didn't show up. So then we said, well, let's try charging for the webinar. Man, it changed our whole world, and this is what I'm telling you. If your information is good enough, you can actually charge for it. Every single one of you can have a core story that's so strong, you can charge for it, and now you have a self-funding growth strategy. So we started charging $39, and I gave $30 to the salesperson. So if a salesperson can make 5 sales a day, they can make $150 a day. Okay? Well, most of them didn't make 5 sales a day. So then we tested, and you're going to learn all about this, testing, at $99, and now we gave $84 to the salesperson because it cost me $15 to take that $99. Credit card charge and the operations center that we use in order to process everything and do all our customer service and our billing and our websites and everything. We pay a percentage of our revenue to them. Then we started charging $199, and you know what we found? Because here's our offer, by the way. You attend our webinar for free, Mr. Prospect. You get on it, and I'm going to take your credit card to hold your spot, but you don't pay until after you attend and only if you think it's worth it. So you attend the webinar for free, and at the end of the webinar, if you don't think it's worth it, we'll put the number right up on the screen, and you call there and say, my name is John Smith, I attended the webinar, it wasn't worth it. Okay, Mr. Smith, your card is never charged. Does that seem fair? Great. What credit card would you like to use to reserve your spot? Okay? So we started charging $199, and now the sales rep gets $120. Most of you don't realize you can probably, if your core story is strong enough, you can probably sell the information. Okay, and I'm going to help you understand this. Basic income structure. Rep takes 120 calls. I showed you what they're taking. Over a 10-day, converts 20%. Our average is 29%, but let's just go low here. At $120, it's $2,800 bucks. And then if at the end of that webinar, the prospect buys a training program, we pay the rep a $300 bonus. So if you look at that, we convert 20% of all the people who go on the webinars, take a next step with us and buy a comprehensive training program like this one. This exact program. In fact, you people watching at home, that's probably how you got into our world when this becomes that home study. So pay for one of our reps for 2 weeks. It'd be about $4,300, right? $8,000, $9,000 a month from home in your underwear. Can you get decent talent for that kind of money? Yes. Working from home. So it's a really great, and then we have a career path. The best get to go on to become web presenters. They're fantastic. They are real stars. The guys who are actually doing the webinars, they're all 9s and 10s. They have to be. Okay, top presenter can earn $40,000 per month from home. What kind of talent can you get if you can pay that kind of money? Gets the best talent in the world, which is exactly what we have. The absolute best talent in the world. That's a recruiting secret, by the way. You want the best talent in the world? Find a way to pay for the best talent in the world, and you'll find it. But again, we have seminars coming up. Churn and burn, okay? That's another aspect. When you have a large sales staff on straight commission, they're going to churn and burn. They're going to come in, they're going to burn out fast, and they're going to go. So it's going to happen. Get ready for the turnover. Because I've had people try this and go, the first guy I hired didn't work out. And I go, well, when the next 9 don't work out and the 10th guy does, now you'll be on your way. Okay? We pay a recruiter an override on all sales because we need to constantly recruit. So I said, we cut a deal with a fantastic executive, said, tell you what, how about you recruit for us full time and we'll give you a percentage of sales. Then we needed someone to train these people all the time. So we said, how about we give you an override on all sales to do all of the training. So, and then the operations I already told you is on straight commission and the presenters are on straight commission. So the entire model cost me absolutely nothing. It's on straight commission, unless it's making me money, and then I don't mind, okay? Our entire operation is on commission. We have zero risk except the cost of the radio, which fortunately, you heard the spots, they pull like hell. Works really great. Sales meetings once per week to tune them up. We play sample calls. So the one where I found that guy saying stuff he shouldn't have been saying, we play that for all 53 of them virtually, all in their home, right? One of the things we constantly stress is the hardest sale we make is probably the guy we really want. That's you, you're in this room, you're an alpha male, you're an alpha female, you're on your way in, you hear one of our spots, you call in, you do not want to get into an 11-minute conversation with some salesperson, you just want the report. We know you're never going to read the damn report. So we spend an inordinate amount of time training the salespeople how to take that guy or that woman who we know is the alpha male or alpha female, who we know if we get them onto our webinar, they're going to want every single service or product that we have. And we spend an inordinate amount of time on how you get that busy person to shut the hell up and listen and learn enough to be able to get on the webinar. Superb webinar content, fantastic. Some of this stuff is taught. It's like, maybe a 10-minute survey on the core story where your brain goes, okay, I can see that's a really good idea. But you know you're not ready to do it without some help. I would give away our webinar every day to sell our services and products on the back end, but when we gave it away, we couldn't get the right people to show up. And the more money we charged, the higher the show-up ratio, and the closing ratio was the same because there's no risk if the content isn't good. Does that make sense? You guys see this? Okay, how many people here can use this strategy? Okay, when I'm finished, you'll all raise your hand. Who thinks you can't use this strategy? Doesn't apply to you. Okay, can we get this gentleman a mic?
Hi, Chad.
Hi.
I'm in legal services.
You're in legal services.
Yeah, so
who do you sell to?
B2B and B2C.
Okay, so you don't have any information that you could sell as a seminar to someone who might also be a good potential client for you? Heck yes. You could use the entire strategy. Next person. No, I'm serious. What are you saying? Right? You don't understand? You get it, right? How about her right there?
Okay, I have a home care agency, well, several of them.
Okay.
We take care of people in their homes.
Okay, this is easy. This
Help me
fits
out.
right in there. So who is your target?
My target is you for your old ones, My target is somebody old who
Okay,
needs care at
so
home.
can you put on a webinar that teaches me the 5 most important things I better know for caring for an elderly parent or sibling or?
I suppose it doesn't
You
sound like a
can
real
absolutely, you can absolutely do it. Just has to be, can you, look, what's your name?
sexy. Are people going to pay for that?
What's your name?
Gail.
Gail. So Gail, is there any insights that I should have? I have 2 elderly parents who I now take care of financially. Is there any insights that I should have on taking care of those elderly parents? Yes or no?
Yes, you should use our service.
Okay. But could you teach me insights that would help me be more effective in selecting that service?
Yes.
Okay. So
Will you
if
pay
it was
for
good
it?
enough, you could charge me for it.
Will you
And
pay
then-
for it?
Yeah. If
Will you be my
if it-
first client?
If it's good enough, you can charge me for it, right? Do you not understand it? If it's good enough, you can charge me for it. Yeah, and you could go on the radio in your local market and you'd get hundreds of people a week calling in to get that free information on that report. And then you could say, you know what, you might want to take one of our webinars. And here, let me tell you what we do. You get on our webinar for free. It's only $39 and it contains over $2 million worth of research. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a minute, because like every core story practically has $2 or $3 or $4 million worth of research in it. You don't pay $2 or $3 million, but one study might have cost $370,000. So you get 5 or 6 studies where you're gleaning information to put in your core story, and you can legitimately say to your prospects, we have over $3 million worth of research in this information that we're going to teach you. And I'll tell you what, if you don't think it's worth it, you don't have to pay. Okay? And it's only $39. Maybe you can't sell yours for $200. We can sell ours for $200 because at the end of our webinar, we do an exercise where you tell us how much it was worth. That's a wonderful experience. We go, so what do you think this was worth, ma'am or mister? And you figure it all out. And then we ask you. And we say, what do you think it was worth? Oh, it's $250,000 to me. How about you? $2.6 million. How about you? 5 And I'm serious. Like at the end of our webinar, those are the kind of figures people are yelling out. Then we click to the next slide and it says, anybody want a refund? Nobody takes a refund. You could absolutely use the model, okay? Any one of you here can. No, let's keep going. Expanding on the model. It costs 6 times more to get a new client than it does to sell something to an existing client. So what else can you sell? So this training program in which you are participating will become, I will predict, and I really have great authority to say this, the most comprehensive business growth training program in the world today. And at the end of this, you will tell me if I'm right, okay? The most comprehensive, meaning that you can buy the training you're going to get here, you can buy it in 50 different places. But you can't get all of it in one place where it all works together any place except right here in this room, or you folks at home. This is it, the most comprehensive training program in the world today for growing a business. And again, Tony told you all about the event, so I'm not going to do that. So that is the core product that we are selling. Then we have radio, and we have other means. Of course, we have 100 other means of driving leads. Then we drive them to the webinar. Then we provide free coaching when you buy one of our training products, because we've seen that you'll get 400% more results if you buy one of our training products and you have a coach with it. How many people here would love to come away from this event and have someone hold your ass to the fire for the next year to make sure you implement all this stuff? Right? Okay? So that leads to ongoing coaching, right? Which is another service that we provide. And then we have recruiting, because we have a fantastic training, you're going to get it here, on how to recruit top producers. And I'm going to show you how it's a dynamic growth strategy for every one of you. Smallest company in the room who you're thinking there's no way I can use salespeople, like maybe Gail over there, I'm going to show you how you could have 10 salespeople working for you in the next 30 days. And we're going to teach you how to recruit them and everything. But some people just say, you know what, you guys are so good at it, I'll just pay you to do it. So we have that service. We have search engine marketing, which you're going to learn a ton about that. I mean, it's 85% in some categories, and in a lot of major categories, 85% of all sales now originate in a search engine. That's somebody doing a research. These are buyers in hunt mode. Do you want to be at the top of those search engines? Yes or yes? Okay, so we got like 5 experts teaching you that here, the best in the world. But we can do it for you. We have design services, the finest design services in the world for graphic design. We have web design as part of the search engine marketing. We have Take It Virtual, which we already talked about. We have CRM. which is part of the Take It Virtual offer. Remember that part where it said, we track everything, you'll know everything, so you can go online, you can look. If you've got 100 people, we have 200 people working from home. We know what every single one of them is doing every single minute of the day, no matter where they are or what they're doing. In fact, we design most of what they're doing, and the CRM system tells them what to do. I don't have to worry about them actually doing it, okay? And then we do all this for you. Brochures and sales literature, we'll do your advertising for you, do your direct mail for you. We'll oversee your core story, we'll give you full strategy, weekly sales management. We'll actually run your sales meetings and CEO coaching. So I'm showing you, we started off really, all we wanted to sell was this. But it costs a ton of money to get people to show up for this. This whole machine at the top here costs a ton of money. So then all of these are services. So now it's your turn. How many different offers can you give off the back end of your product? You understand that? Yeah. Think about what the opportunity is there. That's why Harrison here, 61st fastest growing company in America, guys start off with one service. Now how many companies you have these days? He doesn't even know. 25? You're 30 now? Okay. A year ago it was 15. Serious, crazy entrepreneur. Okay? So you actually, yours goes down here. Like, yours goes down like this. So this is in your binders, and I would tell you, take some time and look at, and here, back-end services. So, right, these were training products. This whole row here were all training products that now we have the services. So I've got training on it, you're gonna get it all here. But some of you are big enough, you say, you know what? Just do it for us. You guys are good at it. Okay, and then down here, this says annuity because you want something that's annuity based. What that means is somebody signs up for something and they keep going. So you have a revenue stream that you can count on no matter what. If you don't get out of bed in the morning, what is your annuity? And then this says, even if you don't stock, store, ship, or even make it yourself, what else can you offer? So a lot of times, 2 or 3 of those services that we're offering, we don't make them, we're just recommending them and getting involved in the middle. We're just playing a representative for those companies. So if you're generating the client, let me tell you, every one of you should have a back end that looks like this, shouldn't they, Tony? Thank you, fantastic. All right, so this is called the best buyer strategy. It's the fastest, least expensive method for doubling sales. I've used it personally hundreds and hundreds of times and helped thousands of companies all over the world use this in some way. So what we're going to talk about is low cost, high reward methods for gaining clients, the nitty gritty of getting the best clients step by step, and we have applications for everybody. Time to build an actual attack. So that's what we're going to be covering here today. So in a nutshell, the best buyer strategy says there's always a smaller number of ideal buyers versus all buyers, right? Just write that one down. There's always a smaller number of ideal buyers versus all buyers. Makes sense, right? So I'll tell you where I learned this. My first job in New York City was as a personnel rep. So what we would do is we would call companies, and my first job doing any kind of cold calling at all, they give me this stack of index cards. Okay, this goes back before even the PC was even a thought in anybody's mind. And you page these index cards and you made 200 phone calls a day. Hi, this is so-and-so from XYZ Personnel Agency. Do you have any openings? Hi, this is so-and-so from XYZ Personnel Agency. Do you have any openings? And because 3% are always buying, right? You would get not 3% because just because they're buying now doesn't mean they want to buy from you, right? So maybe out of 1,000 phone calls, you might get 2 openings where their current agency is not cutting it and they need the person. So you'd get a shot. And sitting across from me was a much older woman, 40. Now seems like a young woman to me, but in those days, you know, I was 19 and I'm like, wonder what that old lady's doing. She doesn't even have to, you know, do any cold calling because she wasn't doing any cold calling. And I said, how come you don't have to do any cold calling? She said, because I'm too busy trying to serve my current clients, so I don't have any time to do any cold calling. I said, well, how many clients do you have? I said, I have 5 clients. And I go, you only have 5 clients and you're too busy? He goes, yeah. CBS, Merrill Lynch, and at any given time you call CBS and they have, I don't know, 4,000 openings or whatever. So she was one of the chosen few that they had good relationships with, and they gave all their openings to maybe 4 or 5 agencies. And then every now and then, if you were a lucky jerk, you might get in an opening with CBS, and then you had to try and earn their respect or their interest. And so I'm 19 years old, I'm working in Manhattan, I hitchhiked to get there. And I remember saying to myself, well, that's what I want. I just want, only the big companies. So I started this concept called the Best Buyer Strategy back, 30 years ago, and ended up getting 4 or 5 of these really huge clients and ended up making a ton of money at a very early age. Then I institutionalized it when I went to work for Charlie Munger, because now it wasn't just me, where I have this dog-eared persistence where I'm just going to keep going after something until I get it. Now I had a team of people, and so we had a database. He had magazines, newspapers, and trade shows, and I started with one magazine. I ended up running 9 different divisions, and when we started, they would just willy-nilly send 2,200 flyers to 2,200 advertisers. And I did an analysis of the market, and it was 167 bought 95% of all the advertising in the marketplace. So we just started going after those guys intensively. And the first month, we didn't get any sales because they were the biggest advertisers that there were in the industry. In the second month, no sales. Third month, no sales. And I had been the #1 producer in that industry, in the whole entire industry, out of 85 magazines, and I went to this little nothing magazine, number 16 position. I mean, we had 2% of market share or something, and we didn't even exist. But because it was bought by Charlie Munger, it seemed like a heck of an opportunity. And so after 4 months, and I still didn't have any sales, you could hear them whispering in the halls, are you sure this guy is any good? Because I hadn't had any results. But in the 5th month, I brought in the biggest advertiser in the history of the industry. Anybody ever sold advertising space? Yeah, a couple of you, right? You sell a full-page advertiser 12 times, it's a nice sale. Xerox came in for 104 4-color spreads. It was a massive sale, massive. And in fact, they went into 4 other books at the same time because I brought them into the industry, but I got the majority of the advertising. And then in the 6th month, we got 29 more. Because the way advertising works is they set a media plan and then they buy all at once. So that alone, just getting 29 of those advertisers doubled our sales. And who thinks we stopped there? Because how many did we have to go after? 167, and we only got 29 of them. So we doubled sales 3 years in a row, actually, and I got called into Charlie Munger's office. And anybody familiar with who Charlie Munger is? So Warren Buffett is the co-chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, and Charlie Munger is the other co-chairman. He joined them when there were 9 million, and now they're whatever, 100 billion or whatever, and Charlie is the co-chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. And he calls me into his office and he says, now Chet, this is exactly what he sounds like, in all my years and all the companies I've run, I've never seen anybody double business 3 years in a row. Are you sure we're not lying, cheating, or stealing? It's a real conversation I have with a billionaire. And what it was, we were using the strategy that I'm about to teach you. We went from number 16 in the market to tie for first place in 1 year for market share to double the closest competitor, who was 4 times our circulation. Really should not have happened. So this strategy works better than you can imagine. It's all about going after them hard, like going after that dream client for you in a hard way. And so again, we said B2B. Who's B2B? So highly applicable for B2B. Highly applicable for B2C, and if you're not, and I'm going to explain that all to you, and then if you're like the person who has the movie theater, then it's all about affiliates. It's all about how can I get, like Jay was saying, one group who would bring me a large group of potential buyers. So I'm going to cover it in both of those. So I'm going to give you a case study, and again, it uses both the strategies because this idea gets set on fire by the core story concept, right? So here's an industrial paint manufacturer, 3 years in the red. They were in business forever, and they had been just falling, bam, 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 3 years in a row. They were just falling. They were in deep trouble. They had 55 technicians they called salespeople. Everybody familiar with the term hunters and farmers? Right? They had all farmers. There were no hunters in there at all. They were people who take care of you and farm the land. They're not going to go out and hunt and kill and bring in food. And what they would do is they would just go to a company and they would try to get with a line executive who's in charge of the paint. And they were industrial, so that means that they were manufacturing this chair, for example, might have this industrial paint, or this definitely has industrial paint. And they would try to get someone who's making these and painting these to switch to their paint. Well, what happened was the Koreans were coming into the country with paint, the same paint, effectively for half the price. So, you know, they just were losing business like crazy. They couldn't get anybody to switch. It was a horrible scene. But one of the first things I do, this is a really great growth strategy for all of you, and we're going to cover it really well. And I heard someone ask Jay, hey, how do you know, where do you find sales talent? And it's really hard and this and that. It's really not that hard. And one of our entire sessions is all about that and all about this growth strategy. Because as I explained yesterday, all those areas that we showed of growth, in my particular case, we have 12 different areas of growth or 12 revenue streams. They're all headed by a very highly talented person that we put in a position to be able to make a lot of money. So that's a terrific growth strategy. I'm going to really flesh it out for you. It's got its own session, so I don't want to cover it here. But here, what I want to say is that's the first thing I wanted to do. I'm like, let's just hire a bunch of top producers because you don't have any top producers here. And a top producer can sometimes sell a product that, you know, is twice as much. And in some cases, you know, their paint was a little better than the Korean paint in that it would dried faster, it had less defects. So there was some sales angles there, but it wasn't enough for people to justify paying twice as much. So they weren't able to make those sales. So you've talked about that. Even for one-person armies, I'm going to show you how this strategy works really well. And then in this case, it didn't work because you had to practically be a chemist to sell industrial paint. So there was just no way I could use that strategy. So I'm stuck using the 55 salespeople that they had already with whatever strategy we were going to do. So we did the core story was called The 5 Most Dangerous Trends Facing Manufacturers. The sales process before, the core story was that they'd stop by and they'd try to see the production line person. Then they would get a trial. And this is like, let's say they'd go to 100 manufacturers. They might get 3 that would say, sure, yeah, all right, well, if you really think your paint is that much better, maybe I'll do a trial. Then we go through that whole process and do this whole big trial. And the trial might actually show that they produce less defects or they, you know, paint dries faster, which would, you know, speed up the production line. What would happen is they'd go to the boss and say, hey, this paint does work better. And the boss would say, so what's the problem? He says, well, the paint's twice as much. Oh, right there, they were dead. So they were just really having a hard time. So we put together this core story. It talked about the 5 most dangerous trends facing manufacturers, and it started off with all this information about what's going on in manufacturing in England. And the data was something like, you know, 20 years ago, 52% of all GMP was from manufacturers, and then, you know, today it was down to 16%, and it was projected to be like 2% in the next 10 years. So if you're a manufacturer, on the first slide we had that graph, it was like pain right away. Oh my God, you know, and that's because, again, England and the exchange rates and the way we're going global, it's very hard for them to compete. So we showed them all this bad news, all this bad news, all this bad news, and we talked about the regulations were stricter there, how it was much harder to make things in England, the cost difference, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Put them in a really hard situation. Then we said, so here's some innovations. And we gave example after example of other types of companies who had changed their model. Like one of their examples was a, what do you call them, a locker company. You know, when you see the lockers in gyms or in high schools and they're gray and they're brown, this company started making them in hot pink and yellow, and suddenly their sales tripled. And so they gave example after example like that of how you can innovate or how you can do innovative textures. And then they offered, at the end of this session, they offered to go and do a diagnostic of the assembly line of the manufacturer and show them ways they might be able to save money or cut costs or speed up production. But also in their core story was all this information about how if you have faster drying paint, how that makes a huge difference in the amount of money that you're spending in that drying time. And then also it had a huge difference in the defects, and then we did the math on that, where all this would be lost normally because the line executive isn't going to care about this stuff. And even if he did care about it, he's not going to present it effectively to his boss. And this whole thing was targeted at the owner. So we got to the owner of the company, we did the first core story, we went out there, we presented it to the owner just as a trial basis with their top guy. And again, I'm going to show you that. That's a very important thing when you're doing this whole model, that you test it. And we'll talk about that, how to test it. And by the way, just so you know, I'm doing 11 sessions on how to get deeper and deeper on all these strategies. So if there's some part of your brain that's swimming, it's like, I'm not sure how to apply this, by the time we're done, you're really going to understand it. And so the first one we did worked really well. The owner of the company invited in his line executive, his line production manager, and invited in his general manager, and they both came in, and at the end of it, they agreed to have this company go walk through their production line and show them how they could possibly make it better. So they went from, getting a production line guy who they had to follow around and kind of beg, to having the production line guy following them around. And because now the boss said, I want you to see what you can do with my company, and I want you to go in there and check it out. So then what we did is we now chose the largest manufacturers in England, and we sent out the first letter that said, similar to all the stuff I've been teaching you, something like, we've done an extensive study and we found out there's 5 dangerous trends facing manufacturers, and we would like to offer you this free report. See, that's in quotes. We got back from that letter a 7% response rate. 7% of the manufacturers in the country called in and said, I'd love to get your free report. So it was huge. Now, there was a transition in place that was very important, because if you put in that letter, I would love to come and do a presentation with you and your key management and told everything that you wanted to try and do, the tactician might do that. I want to come in, I want to present all my stuff to you, and I want to show you our presentation, and here's what it's covered, and we need an hour of your time. You'd have never made that sale from a letter. You wouldn't have gotten one single response. But because the letter said, we would like to offer you a free report, then they would call in for the report, and we'd say, oh yeah, great, let me get the person who's going to get you your report, and we'd route that to the salesperson for that territory, and he would say, yeah, let me tell you how we deliver the report. It was $3 million worth of research, it was 700 pages worth of data, and by the way, most of your core stories will start off with a massive amount of data, and as I explained yesterday, at least $3 million worth of research. And so what we did is, we know you're not going to read 700 pages worth of research, is we reduced this down into a fast-paced, streamlined, graphically illustrated, fantastic, here's a great term for you, executive briefing that we can deliver to you in just 32 minutes right in the comfort of your own office. As a matter of fact, I have a tour going on right now. I'm going to be seeing all the other manufacturers just like you, all the other airline manufacturers, jet manufacturers, telephone manufacturers, whatever it is, and I'm going to be in your area showing this information, and so we'd like to get you set up with that. So now we needed the sales reps to start calling after those mailers, because those mailers got to go on a regular basis, and then you want to have the sales reps call. And so I did a first role play with their salespeople, and it was awful. I mean, these guys were just terrible. So they're supposed to call up this CEO of a manufacturing plant and talk about how they want to come in and show this educational information, and basically every conversation went, love to come talk to you about your paint. No, you're not selling paint now. And so it's, trying to explain these guys to going from a tactician who just wants to sell paint to someone who is a strategist who's going to do an education and do all the stuff we talked about yesterday, right? So then we did more role plays. Awful, bad, not good. But 5 months later, okay, I'm about to teach you the single greatest secret to success in your company with any initiative. Okay, I've been on stage for 20 years, I've been teaching for 20 years, and I, as you see, have a lot of content that I share, but I'm going to give you the biggest lesson I've learned for growing companies. Number one, most important thing, and people will come back to me, and people who know my stuff have already said this to me 10 times at this event, that the most important trait in a high-producing CEO or company owner is what's called pig-headed discipline and determination. That's my graphics team being funny. Note to self, fire graphics team. The original title of my book was actually The Pig-Headed Executive Wins Every Time. So those who have read it, you'll notice this reference to pig-headed discipline all through it, because when you write a book, usually you have to have the title is all through it. Like a good friend of mine is Jay Levinson, he wrote all the guerrilla marketing books. So every reference to any kind of individual is always, a guerrilla marketer will do this. If you're a guerrilla, you'll do that. So we had the pig-headed executives all through the book just played up like crazy. And then we went to the sales reps and it was time to sell the book, and they have to go and hit all the stores. They go, you know what, I'm not selling a book with that title. So we changed the title at the last minute to The Ultimate Sales Machine. So now you have an inside of the, and I had a huge battle with the publisher just to get that title. And then he came back to me and said, I'll leave the title, but none of the salespeople want to sell your book with that title. I don't know if he was fooling me, leading me on with that one, but eventually I said, okay, I'm not going to have 250 salespeople who won't sell my book. But that's the key. That's really the key. 6 months later, 6 months of hard work and pig-headed discipline and weekly role plays with their farmers, not hunters, you could not find one of those guys who couldn't do a pretty darn good job at pitching that core story. But it took 6 months. Hard labor, week in, week out, role plays, on the phone saying, okay, let's go, you, me, Bob, how's it go? And Bob would do it, and I'd go, no, okay, no, right there, you're being tactical. And back and forth, and they all knew that they were going to be on the phone every week with me, role-playing the exact approach, and just got to the point where they all got good at it. So they got in to see, ultimately, 54% of the largest companies in England, and totally turned around the company. And I just went to London this last year, and this guy who, when I got involved with him, that, like I said, that company was going down for the third time. He just sold it and took me out for a $700 dinner to celebrate. So it was a really nice total turnaround for the company. So if you failed the concept I'm about to teach you, it's going to be because you lack this pig-headed discipline and determination. That's the only way you'll fail at this. All right, so it also includes affiliate groups. So the Dream 100 concept means going after the dream clients, the best buyers, but going after them with a vengeance. But it also includes affiliates. So who are affiliates you can go to who have some credibility, and you heard Jay talk about this, even companies going out of business have some affinity with the companies they were doing customers with. So who can you go to who might be able to give you easy access, already dealing with the clients that you want to reach, all right? So for example, this is just an example, this is my book, and prior to it coming out, I got 100 famous speakers to endorse it and give away $10,000 in training programs if you bought it. How many people were in some way involved in this or got the bonuses? Just a handful of you, okay? Well, it worked really well, but what we did is, even Tony was one of the gifts we gave away. Harv Eker and Chris Howard and Jay Levinson of Guerrilla Marketing. We had 100 famous authors give me free training programs. We put them up on a website, and when you go to this website and you buy the book, you got a receipt, and then you could go in, enter your receipt number, and you had access to $10,000 in free training programs for buying a, at the time, $25 book. So on the day the book came out, it was number 45,000th in the list of bestsellers. 2 days later, it was number 1. The following week, it hit the New York Times list. And it's been on Amazon for 2 years now as a top 10 best-selling sales book. Thank you. So there's no one you can't get to if you're determined. I've had 60 Fortune 500 clients. The hardest one of all was Phil Purcell of Morgan Stanley, $200 billion company. That guy took 6 months of hitting him every single week. And in fact, the weird thing is that in the 6 months of chasing him, there was the 1 week at the end of that where I didn't call him, they called me. No kidding. His secretary called up and he turned over and said, you know that guy that's been calling me every single week? Set a meeting with him. I want to hear what he has to say. And I got a meeting with a chairman of a $200 billion company and got them as a client. Jay Abraham, who you saw here, this goes back 12 years ago. I was just starting to build product. My first years as a trainer was all selling my services directly, going into the companies and teaching directly to very, very large companies. And then there was 1 year where I was on the road 45 at 52 weeks, and my kids were like 2 and 3, and they were like, who's this person? So the next year, I started building training programs because there's leverage there, because now I don't have to be the one personally doing the training. And I was getting a lot of money being a trainer, and Jay Levinson said to me, yeah, but Chet, would you rather have 6 clients a year paying you $1 million, or would you rather have 1 million people paying you, $10 a training program? Of course, I don't have any training programs for $10, so you can do the math there. But Jay was a huge celebrity in my world, and he had a massive database of people who followed whatever he recommended. So I wanted him to recommend my training programs to his list, and I called him every week for 2 solid years. Every single week for 2 years. Celebrities are way harder to get a hold of, right? Because the Fortune 500, you know, I mean, in his world, Phil Purcell is a big guy, but he's not a famous person. You probably wouldn't even have known him if I said him by name and didn't identify his company at all. So those guys, I mean, what is it? George Zimmer took 9 days. It took me 2 days to get the CEO of Warner Brothers on the phone. It took me 1 day to get chairman of Wells Fargo Bank on the telephone. And by the way, I'm going to show you every secret and trick that I've learned over the years of getting the highest level executives in the world on the telephone. That's one of our sessions here. And there are secrets and there are tricks and they work really well. Yeah, real nuts and bolts. Yeah, real nuts and bolts. Word by word dialogue. So Tony Robbins took 17 years. 17 years. And I told him, I said, you know, Jay made me about $15 million and that took 2 years. Let's do the math here, you know? This is what I expect from you. So yeah, and the last 5 years intensively, I've been working for him, you know, doubling results in this area or that area. So he took forever. So if any of you want to partner with Tony Robbins, 17 years. That's how long it's going to take. You run a campaign, you orchestrate it like a concert where every note is spelled out in advance. Because what I found, you got to do at least 6 months in advance. If you don't plan your campaign, and I'm going to show you what the campaign is, 6 months in advance, you'll stop halfway through. You'll get 2 months into it, you'll get distracted. So just plan that you're going to do at least 6 months in advance of what your Dream 100 effort is going to be or your best buyer strategy. Going after the same types of companies all at once really helps. So the newspaper example I gave you yesterday, where we went after all the car dealerships in the same week and got them all to meet with us. Went after all the hair salons in the same week, got them all to meet with us. All the restaurants in the same week, got them all to meet with us. In banking, for example, my clients include Citibank, Bankers Trust, and Wells Fargo. In the stock market, Merrill Lynch, Salomon Brothers, Morgan Stanley, Charles Schwab, New York Stock Exchange. Some pretty good clients. So your dream effort works even better if you can go after the same types of clients. Right? You found that, Gerardo? Same types. That's what we want to do. Organize it really, really well. So how about consumer marketing? And again, we're going to get into specific campaigns. If you're a chiropractor, a dentist, a real estate person, a plastic surgeon, a financial advisor, a retail store, a restaurant, there's a thing we call the best neighborhood strategy. And the best consumers usually live in the best neighborhoods. The wealthiest people usually live in the wealthiest neighborhoods. So you want to do something special for best buyers because they are best buyers. So I'll give you an example. There's a restaurant I go to. It's in a motel. So we would have never gone there, but some friends of ours took us to this restaurant, and here's this motel, and the other half of it is this place called Ricky's Bar and Restaurant. I mean, it doesn't even sound like anything. I go in there, and the food is sensational. It's, you know, 5-star gourmet quality. The service is terrific. I'm like, wow, and the place is empty. There is nobody in there. So we keep going, and then I have a lot of food allergies, so I like to eat at the same 2 or 3 places so I don't have to explain myself every time. No, can't have that, no, can't have this, can't have that. I go in there, they know what I like, you know, they take good care of me. I usually use the same waiter all the time, or I have a second choice in case he has a day off. But I'm a best buyer. I go to that restaurant like 4 or 5 times. There's some weeks I'm there 7 nights in a row, and because I entertain a lot, and because I have a highly social life, I'm always bringing other people. So think about what that's worth to this restaurant owner. So I said to him one day, and the place is empty, it was a Tuesday night, we're the only 2 people in there, and he's got a whole staff, you know, he's got waiters and maitre d' and the bartender, and you know, I said to him, you know, I could help you sell this place out, but I have one condition. And he looked at me like, you're gonna help me sell this place out? How's that possible? I mean, I'm dying here. And I said, I'll help you sell it out, but I have one condition, that I always get a table. That's my only condition, that whenever I come, no matter what, I get a table. So we started his Dream 100 effort. I told him I live on a golf course about 5 minutes from this place. They're all big homes. And I said, every person in there is a wealthy person. They probably all eat out 4 or 5 times a week. Buy them all a free dinner. So we made up a really nice invitation. We sent it to people on the golf course. And it said, you know, because of who you are and where you live and the neighborhood you live and the fact that you're only 5 minutes away from us, and we want to introduce you to our 5-star gourmet restaurant, and we would like to buy you a free dinner. And I had to talk him into this. I said to him, isn't it worth a free dinner if this person comes in and becomes like me, where I'm coming 4 or 5? Oh, yeah, that'd be worth a free dinner. Yeah, okay, good. You know, it's like the guy's a gourmet expert, but, you know, business sense, not really there. So then he did his first mailer, and I come in, whatever, another time. He said, hey, I did my first mailer. I said, how'd it go? He goes, not that good. And I said, well, what'd you get? He said, about 6 people. And I go, there's 54 homes on the golf course, dude. That's a 12% response rate. Anybody here getting 12% response rate to their direct mail? I said, send more invitations to better neighborhoods. So I just went in there a couple Tuesday nights ago on a Tuesday night, and there was not a single table in the restaurant. And I looked at him, and he said, we'll be bringing out a table right away. And they went to the back room, and they got a table, and they put a nice linen on it, and we got a really cool little spot in the corner of our own, you know. So I want a memorial booth up there, the Chet Holmes booth. But it's just me, 5 minutes of advice, you know, here or there in this restaurant. So, and then I've helped real estate brokers who just target the best neighborhoods intensively, where they get to be so well known, and yet if you live in that neighborhood, to you, you must think this is a big person because you're constantly getting those mailers. The same thing with the Dream 100 effort on a corporate level. If you're going after, how many people here where one big client can make a difference in your world, right? Okay, so how'd you like to have 29 of them 6 months from now? What do you do, by the way, in the white shirt? Yes? Take the mic.
Oh, sorry. Wayne Smith, Vertex Innovations. We do telecommunications staffing and consulting for wireless industry, Verizon,
So who would be a big client for you?
AT&T.
And how many of them are there?
Like 50.
Okay, so for him, there's only a Dream 50. That's it, right? And how many of them do you have now?
2.
And do you have as much business from those 2 that you could possibly have, or just a hair?
Just a fraction.
Okay, so like this guy, 6 months from now, if you follow the stuff I'm going to teach you, you'll be out of control. You'll be in go-go stage. You won't be able to keep up with all the business that you get. So that's the key, guys. You just go after, in that case, if he went after those 50 intensively with a great core story at a high level where you had all the decision makers all in the same room, you know, 4 months from now, you might have another one. And then 3 more months from now, you might have 2 more, because it's cumulative. If you're hitting me up every week, 6 months, 5 months, 8 months, 9 months, in a very short period of time, I get to know exactly who this guy is, right? Does that make sense? And yet, what's his marketing budget to market to 50 people? $50 a month? I mean, you know, can you afford to do that? Okay, I want a small car when you get your 3rd Dream 100 client. Okay, affiliates. Mercedes dealer that we work with did this affiliate deal where they handed out coupons for great restaurants, free dinner here and there. So if you sell B2C, can you go to a whole slew of car dealerships, or if you sell an upscale thing, can you go to the Mercedes guy and say, hey, put this coupon in, it's a bonus to your people when they buy a Mercedes. So this one guy gives out a pamphlet, you know, this envelope full of all these things. $250 off of professional photographs, free dinner at a restaurant, a free boat day. So this is a really innovative strategy. If you're a boat retailer and you're sucking wind right now because nobody's buying boats, for every $100,000 Mercedes they sell, they give you a free day on a boat. So most people, any boaters in the room? Don't you love it? Love it. Love it. It's like going to another planet. I have a boat you can live on. Just love it. Love to go on that boat. And a friend of mine suggested about 10 years ago, because I don't have any hobbies. All I do is work. So I don't golf. I live on a golf course. And I learned why nobody else on the golf course golfs who lives on it, because we all know how stupid that is because of the noise with the mowers all the time, the balls hitting your house. And do not buy on a golf course, let me tell you. But so this boating thing was something new that you could just, people were not familiar with it. The first time I went, I loved it, and so I ended up buying a boat, and then the next time I bought a much bigger boat, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, who are your best buyers? Let's do a little workshop. Who would you go after? Who would be a great affiliate? Who's someone who is reaching a lot of potential buyers for your potential product or service, even if it's unrelated, or maybe even especially if it's unrelated? Okay, and then I ask, looking for trouble, Who's struggling with this concept? Okay?
I'm a B2C. We
Yeah.
have a medical clinic. We're expanding into doing wellness webinars. So my best buyer, I guess it will be a patient that have come again and again.
Well,
But
are you someone, where are you out of?
Santa Cruz, California?
So you're in California, which means that do you want people at your clinic who care more about health than they do about the money they would spend?
Definitely, and we're doing well. I don't want more patients. I want the webinars to be a success and expand.
Okay, well, your best buyer are people who live in the best neighborhoods. So I have an HMO, and then I have my doctor for the HMO, and then I have a private physician of a concierge level of service who charges me like, I pay $40, $20 when I go to my HMO. I pay $400 when I go to this guy. But he is, you know, he's integrated medicine. He knows about nutrition. He, is the first doctor who took my blood, and then went over the blood report with me and showed me where I was deficient in this and I didn't have enough of that. No doctor's ever done that, So that's a best buyer strategy. In fact, I'm advising him right now. Now he's free for my help. I mean, it's the other way around, But because, he's struggling. And so I said, there's a lot of guys where the money is secondary to the quality of service. Me, for example, I'd rather have good health and I don't care about the $400 as long as this guy gets me healthy. Does that make sense?
All my patients are best buyers from that point because they all pay out of pockets. So
Okay.
perhaps the one that has more visit is my best buyer, but when I do the webinars, who is going to be my best buyer?
What's your webinar
And who-
selling?
It's going to be selling wellness programs because here in California, everyone has access. But I have been talking with people, Alabama, Missouri, the middle of the country, they don't have holistic practitioners. And they can get a lot of information from the net that is really not accurate.
So you want to
what-
go from providing the service to selling programs that teach people how to
Selling webinars, and the back end is that we'll have a lot of the things that I sell in my pharmacy, they will be there for purchase.
Okay, so your strategy for you is an affiliate strategy. Like I have a client that has food allergy testing, and they treat 200,000 people a year with food allergies. Would that be a good affiliate for you?
Yes.
There you answered your question.
How do I find those people? Because they
You
will
can
be
go in on the
afraid
web,
that they will
okay?
lose their patients to our webinars.
He won't be afraid. He's not really directly competitive. You can go onto the web for any one of you as an affiliate strategy. You can go onto the web and type in your type of business, you know what I mean? Anything healthcare related, and you might have to sit there for a couple hours and go through that long list of stuff, but you'll come up with hundreds. So our affiliate manager just goes on the web when he doesn't have enough leads and types in time management, because we have a time management training. And he'll find companies that have time management, and we'll go and we'll team up with them. Or he'll type in, training, and we'll go and find training companies left and right, and maybe we have a complementary product that works for them. Who else is struggling with the concept?
Thank you.
Okay. Back there, this gentleman right here.
Yes, Chet. I have a company that tests for obstructive sleep apnea and sleep disorders.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is that,
There's another guy in here who does the same thing.
is that right?
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
He's got a killer ad based upon the stuff we taught yesterday. I may play that for you later. Or now you got to have a competitor in the room. You might not want me to play
Yeah,
that.
let's play that real quick. Let's take a look see. Just nothing on hers, yeah? Okay.
Where do you
Well-
live?
I live in Houston, Texas.
Okay, good. He'll
So
share.
good. Yeah, I need to.
There'll be
Okay.
a royalty involved, though,
Okay.
but he will share.
Well, the interesting thing that I look at is I try to look at, say, my best buyer, and it's an interesting dynamic. I have a physician that refers to me.
There you go.
I have the patient.
No, there you go. You just answered it again. How many more physicians can you get? That's your best buyer strategy. You want one person who can send you 40 people a week.
Okay.
That's like the fastest growth strategy in the world for you. What you want is now you want a core story to that medical doctor on why they need to be more educated about this than any other medical doctor on the planet who just sends you literally 40 people a week. You get 10 doctors like that, you'd be overwhelmed. Answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, next. Just pass the mic right in that table.
Hi, my product is a web-based product for the banks. It provides liquidity of a residential property. So it's
We talked yesterday, yeah.
Yes,
You got a
we
hell of
did.
an opportunity right now.
Yes, and it's a hybrid automated valuation tool that's different from what's on the market right now.
You're Dream 100 all the way. You want to go after the biggest banks and get everybody in the room. Your core story, Dream 100 all the way.
Right, but the challenge I'm finding, since I'm new to sales, but I'm loving it, is that The banks all operate differently, so now they don't all call them the valuation vice presidents, they don't call, so to try
Who
to
do all those people report to?
the CEO.
That's who you want to go after. You just need the next stuff I'm going to teach in order to do that. Okay? So let's move on. Let's move on. Or somebody really confused. Okay, over here. Mike Runner, right here.
I'm going after high-end buyers. I know where they are from a state standpoint.
What do you sell?
Real estate.
Right, okay.
So I target buyers for second homes in a resort area.
Okay.
They're coming from New England. I just haven't been able to figure out how to target them specifically.
You know, again, that's core story sales model. You know what I mean? It would be like, you know, I actually know for a fact there's some really great research about people who own vacation homes and how much more well-adjusted they are, what a better family life they have, you know, how much less stress they have. They're much wealthier. People who own a second home, it contributes significantly to your wealth over a long period of time. So, you know, it's like that ad I played to Tony Robbins yesterday about overachievers. Remember that ad? So you would be something like that. You'd be going like for those guys, and you could definitely use best neighborhood strategy. Mail right to the wealthiest people in your neighborhood. You could even target by business owner, and here's another really great way to go for something like that. When you want to go after the high-end consumers, you go to a website called zapdata.com. It's owned by the Wall Street Journal. ZAP data, zapdata.com. And you say, in the New England area, I want to reach people who make $250,000 or more, like this, and in 5 seconds, they'll go, oh, and you give them the zip codes that you want, even by zip code, and it will tell you, oh, there's 2,200 of those people, too many. Let me start with 200. 10 cents a name, you download the names. I may be wrong about 10 cents, might be 15 cents, whatever. It's nothing. Does that help? Who has a great idea to share with everybody else where you've got this figured out and you know exactly what you'll do and you know exactly how it'll work and you want to share? Okay, in the back?
Okay, I'm Tommy Romano with Propel Aircraft Sales.
Aircraft sales?
You got it. And
you sell what?
Cessna aircraft, single engine pistons.
Wow.
Territory only in 5 states. What we're going to do is look for regional businesses with sales revenue of $5 million or more, market directly to them, and show them how aircraft ownership will help their profitability, performance, their productivity, and reduce travel time in the region for themselves.
And you will be the most advanced marketer in your field, bar none. Yes? Right? Because those guys market to me all the time, and I've never seen one of them offer to teach me crap. They just want to show me how much they charge and show me the airplane, just like selling cars. Who else has got it really figured out? Would love to share. Right there. Passing right there, gentleman right there.
We manufacture beds and tables for hospitals, and one of the particular products that has the fastest growing curve right now is a mammography breast biopsy product. So out of the...
You're next, Ted. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
10,000 mammography centers, 500 are the ones that are doing biopsies, and they're competing very, very fiercely to get the volumes because they're very low margin. So out of the 500, we've got the list, we know exactly who they are. So we're going to start sending packages and then following up immediately, because that's one of the things that's been disconnected. The marketing of the core story hasn't been followed up with a sales call.
Right. We're going to
webinar.
Right.
So we're just going to hit those 500, although it seems like it's a lot. It's not, because they all require the same thing.
Dream 100 letter with a stopwatch. Okay? We're talking a little cheap plastic, thing that costs 50 cents a piece, and it's just got like 2 buttons on it. It's a little stopwatch, and it's not the actual clinical kind. It's a little digital one, and it says it comes in an envelope to you, and you get this envelope, and you open it up, and there's a little stopwatch in it. So it gets your attention, right? So that's the whole idea of this kind of a mailer. It's not expensive, but it's designed to stand out a little in the crowd. This is what we've done for hundreds and hundreds of clients. Every second that you do not get our free executive briefing, the 5 most critical insights in blank industry today, you are losing money. Every second that you have the stopwatch, right? This executive briefing has more than $3 million in research boiled down to a bullet-style, fast-paced, outstanding education on how to increase business in this scary period of rising competition and other pain point here. Okay? Call for your free executive briefing today. The clock is ticking, right? Tying it back to the clock, and you're losing money. That, I believe, is in your workbook, so you don't have to write it down. That exact script is in your workbook. The prospect smiles, and some actually call you, thinking it's a free report. It sounds like a report, doesn't it? But it's not actually a report. An executive briefing is delivered live by you, okay? I had a collection company use this to go after large accounts. They had like 600 accounts that would do $180 worth of collection a month, and they had one $5 billion client with a 1%. What's 1% of $5 billion? 50 million or something in collections every year. And I said, why don't you just go get more $5 billion clients? So we started this process, a gift and a mailer every week or every other week until you start getting those clients. And after only 4 cute mailers, a huge company said to one of the salespeople who was calling behind the mailer, which we're going to talk about, said, oh, you guys, you've been sending me those cute little gifts. I just have to meet with you. Sales guy was so stunned, he went, instead of saying, great, when? He said, why? You know? And he said, because I've been getting all those letters of yours, and I just think your marketing is just super. And bam, he got himself a meeting. So you actually will have people who will react that way. The point is that you can really stand out in the crowd very quickly with great marketing. And again, in your case, I'm sorry, your name was? Wayne. Wayne or Dwayne? Wayne, he's only going after 50 companies. So if you send him a free gift every other week, his entire marketing budget is going to be $200 a month. You know, and yet if he gets even one of those clients, it changes his life. Or the doctors, or the, you know, you guys, all the other areas that we came up with, okay? 2 weeks later, you mail again. So here's the rules on the gift. It should be cute, not expensive, because expensive gifts comes off like you're bribing them. And you don't want to come off like you're bribing them. And in fact, if you send expensive gifts, people will send them back. I sent 3,000 gifts to the top 3,000 executives in America with my book 6 times in a row, and 4 or 5 of them sent them back. I'm sorry, we cannot accept your gifts. I'm like, chill, man, it costs 50 cents. You know, who cares? Should be something useful that they will want to keep or play with or take home to their children. Chet to show examples, not here on stage with me now. I'll show them in another session. But I have a really cool little magnifying glass, and when we were looking to get these, my PR person was like 30, you know, with perfect eyesight or whatever, and she's like, who's going to use this little magnifying glass? The little magnifying glass you flip up like this, and I said, every guy my age and all the CEOs we're going to be sending it to. I cannot tell you, I have in my briefcase, I use that stupid little magnifying glass. How many people like to just have a handy little magnifying glass wherever you go, anytime you turn around, you got this, flip this thing out. I can tell you there's 3,000 executives with that magnifying glass in their briefcase. And then I had a situation where when I ran these businesses for Charlie Munger, we bought all these gifts, and the company that we bought all these gifts from came up and gave me a little pen light flashlight. Just a little thing like this. Just click on it like this. And so that was the day of the earthquake, of the big earthquake. So was it 89? God, am I that old? Yeah, it was 1989 earthquake, the one that was on television because it was during the World Series, right? And I was in the Fox Plaza in San Francisco, and I was fresh from New York, and I'm sitting in my office talking to a guy in New York, and I go, oh, it's an earthquake. No, it's a major earthquake. I got to go. And I hang up, and I run to my door frame because I was up on all the rules, you know, and all the Californians who weren't paying any attention to that. We're all running around, running into each other. You know, everybody's running around, and they're all out in the big main area. And I go, get in a door frame, get in a door frame. So everybody comes running to my door frame. It's like 28 people, you know. And the guy next to me is going like this, like, get out of my door frame. You know, he's not letting anybody near his door frame. I'm like, let them in your door frame. You know, so then we go to the stairwell, and we're going down. We go into the stairwell, and it's pitch black. The emergency lights do not work at all. I mean, it's like, you're like this, feeling along the wall. And it wasn't like the stairs went like this. It was like the stairs went, then it went down the hall this way, then there was another stairwell, then it went this way, then it was another stair. It was like not symmetrical. And so all of a sudden, I remember I had this flashlight. I have about 20 or 30 people with me, all of my staff that work for me, and I pull this flashlight out and I click it on like this, and it lights up all the faces around me, and somebody goes, "He carries a flashlight in his pocket?" You know? So you never know when your cheap crap little gift, right, will end up being told on stage in front of 400 people. So it's really, really worth it for you to send things that are useful. You don't want to send like, you know, those little keychains that got the $100 bill, it's going right in the garbage. But if you send, I'll give you some ideas. The goal is merely to stand out, to build more brand awareness. I call this softening the market. What can we do before the salespeople call that softens the market? It makes people go, that was kind of cool. Well, what was that? Or they might not call you, but when you call them, they're more open because they've received some of these nice little tchotchkes, okay? It works really well. I've used it again and again and again. And even if they don't take you up on the offers, it still dramatically builds your brand, right? Because you're standing out in the crowd. Yes, Mark?
Do you mail the same person?
Again and again and again. Good question if I wasn't clear about that. He asked, do I mail the same person again? Yes, constantly. That same person, Phil Purcell, you know, chairman of Morgan Stanley, again and again and again. A call and a mailer, a call and a mailer, 2 calls and a mailer, a call and a fax, a call and a mailer. Constantly in their face, space, case, place, wherever they may turn. You still have a question? Back there. Yeah, I mean, you can. It's more expensive. Suddenly the price goes from 50 cents to $3 when you put your logo on it. But let me give you a source for that. Right, you get those cheap little toys for around Christmas time. You get those catalogs like crazy. Well, you go to there and you can buy magnifying glasses, 12 for $5. So what are that? 40 cents a piece. And when we sent the magnifying glass, we said in the letter, if you want to double your sales, read the fine print. And the letter came with a magnifying glass, and then in tiny, tiny type in this letter, it said, buy The Ultimate Sales Machine, my book. Okay? Calculator, 12 for 20. So now that's getting a little more expensive, but here you can see this, you know, pink, calculator. There were 12 of them for 20 bucks at orientaltrading.com. So it's costing you $1.20 out the door. For some people, it might be worth it. Yes? Yeah. Yeah, because the secretary doesn't know what to do with it. You know, oh, you got this gift from this company here. You know, she doesn't have the right to take that. Okay, toolkits, 12 for $12. Paddle ball, 12 for $5. Gliders, 100 of them for $7. So what can you come up with? The guy with the airplanes, you're not struggling at all with that one. You don't have to have this cardboard glider. We can help you save money with a real one or something. Anyway, Rubik's Cube, and I'll give you the headline we used for that. This puzzle has over 4 billion combinations. But you only need to know the 12 competencies to double sales that you will learn in our book. Okay, so that's a good headline. You can all steal that one. Yes? Yeah, every other week. Every other week. Yep, and you should plan 6 months in advance. And by the way, if you buy all this stuff in advance, as cheap as that is, you get a 20% discount if you spend over $1,000. So I'm just telling you, know in advance, I want these 17 gifts. Metal whistle, multicolored pencils, 100 plastic dinosaurs for $26. They're 25 cents a piece. Yes? No, different tchotchke every other week. So you would send the magnifying glass once, then the calculator next. And what's a good line for the calculator if you're me? You're going to need this calculator to calculate the sales increases that you'll get from reading my book. That was our actual line when we sent the calculator. 2-inch metal. Here's a really cool one. You can get this 2-inch metal, and you can get printed anything you want. You can get this metal and get 3 lines of 20 characters each. You have just been awarded the medal for the, greatest Mexican resort in the world, or something like that. Whatever you can think of that would stand out, and it's clever, and it costs you $3. So that one's a little more expensive because it's $3. But again, if you're only going after 50 people, in his case, you wouldn't spend $150 to have some guy, oh, that's clever. That's as much thought as they're going to give it, but now when you call behind that, and remember, we're having a session on how to hire top producers for no money, so we'll get you set up with those guys. Okay, so let's do a little workshop. These are in your workbook, and let's just have you write a headline. just real quick, just write some headlines for some of these ideas.
Pause the video now and proceed with the workshop.
I used to do strategic consulting for pharmaceutical companies, and the way I would get their account, because it's highly competitive because they have all the money in the state where I live, and so everyone's going after their money. I would send them something that related to the drug, the brand that I wanted the account I wanted to win. So for a drug like Propecia, which grows hair in men, and I knew about it in phase 2.
You sent a hairpiece.
It's
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I was just reaching on that one.
No, I sent a little troll doll that has the hair that grows on top.
Cute.
And then the next week, I sent a bigger one with longer hair. And
Oh,
then the next week,
clever.
I sent a bigger one with longer hair. Now, it costs money to do that, but
Yes.
I knew exactly who the decision maker was.
Right.
And I knew that at some point, they were going to say, I'm going to call her. And I got the account. And
That's a great story.
For the 12 or whatever dollars that I spent for that, plus the mailing, and I sent it FedEx overnight, so it cost more than that. But I got a multi-million-dollar account, so
Worth it every day.
Totally worth it.
Yes, very
Then
good.
Another thing that I did was to get clients to view my reel, if I had a demo reel of programs, was to send them a package of popcorn that said, can only be eaten when viewing this reel.
Clever.
of
She's
my
good.
company. Oh, I've
Very
got-
good. Now she has a skin line. Okay, no, let's keep going, okay? Dream 100 effort is forever. So what are you going to do to market to your Dream 100 every month without fail? How do you go from, I never heard of this company, to, who's this company I've been hearing about, to, I think I've heard of that company, to, yeah, I've heard of that company, to, yeah, I do business with that company. It's just you in their face, in their case, in their place, in their space. So in my experience, if you don't plan at least 6 months in advance, you'll peter out somewhere in the middle. And then you buy those gifts, you're stuck with them, you gotta use them. So one of the things we bought was a yo-yo. Tired of your sales going up and down? And in the end, we ended up with, that was the one gift that didn't get out because it came late in our shipment. We bought the stuff from China. And so I have 3,000 yo-yos, right? I've given them away boxes because they come in boxes of 300. So Michael here in the front row, I gave him a box of yo-yos. It's like, what am I going to do with these 300 yo-yos? Mark your calendar. First, make sure your core story is ready. And then how are you going to present it? So it might be in a form of brochure, it might be in the form live, it might be in the form of a webinar. Second, make sure that you have sales reps that can present like a champion. And we've got a session on that because it's so important and most people are really poor at presenting. In fact, our experience is tremendous, I can't even tell you. Using one great presenter and 10 weak ones. So sometimes in your company, you won't have 10 people who can deliver that core story. You will have one. And we had that with a client where only one guy was really any good at presenting, so we had the other 9 go out and fill him up with webinars, and it increased their appointment setting tenfold. How many mailers are you going to do? Plan what you're going to mail, when, who's going to do what task, what's the follow-up call going to look like, with whom do you want your appointments. You always want to be with the person who can say yes without checking with somebody else. Can I go faster? No problem. You want the person who can say yes without checking with someone else. Okay? Who is that? By the way, I'll tell you something. I have a great ad for this, and maybe I'll actually play it now. But I have an ad that's at 500 words a minute. We speak at 140 words a minute, but we can actually take in information 4 times faster than we speak. So I have an ad that starts and says, and it's going at 500 words a minute. It's very humorous. We just started running it, and Mitch, you said that's pulling really well, right? Yeah, so I'll play it for you guys. It's really cool. You'll notice it right away because it's going at 500 words a minute. It's amazing. You're not selling product anymore. You're selling an education. It's easier to sell, but you still have to sell it. So now you're selling a better way than before because also you're positioning yourself as an expert. So let's talk about another case study. It's a $1.5 billion company that sells homes in Mexico. Tony mentioned them before. And here's their dialogue before we got involved. It says right now, but it was before we got involved. And it says, hi, this is Pedro Gomez. And when I put that up, one of my executives says, well, that's rather cliche. You really want to use Pedro Gomez? And I go, why not use Bill Smith when I refer to the Americans? And that's a very common name in Mexico, isn't it? very common. And he say, I'd like to come and talk to you about your employees and buying a home. That's basically what they would say. So if they got shut down right then and there, they were dead. So more or less, that's what they would say. So now instead, we're training them to say something like this instead. Hi, this is Pedro Gomez from HomeX. Are you familiar with us? Yes or no, doesn't matter. It says, well, if they say yes, then you say, well, then you probably know we're the largest home builder in Mexico. If they say no, then they go, you know, we're the largest home builder in Mexico. It says, the reason I'm calling is because we recently commissioned a study of issues facing Mexico and how that's, and you don't have to write this down, this entire script is in your book. And this is a masterpiece. Watch what happens here, ladies and gentlemen. It says, I'm calling you because we recently commissioned a study of issues facing Mexico and how that's going to impact you and your employees. Are you interested in making your employees more secure, less stressed, and more effective on the job? Is that a hard one to say yes to? So what I want you to do is, as you're going through the script, I want you to think of what question can you ask right in the beginning that nobody can say no to. What question can you ask that nobody can say no to? Let's keep going. So the prospect says, of course. Says, well, that's where we can help. You're probably aware that Mexico is emerging in several areas as a leader in the world market. Very true, by the way. Home building is one of them. Since HomeX is one of the largest companies in Mexico, we feel it's our obligation to assist this country in any way we can. Coming from a nice altruistic place there, right? Are you interested in helping to make Mexico a stronger nation if it doesn't cost you anything to do it? Another question that's hard to say no to, okay? Of course, I'm sure you're aware that our government, there are government programs now that make it so almost every employee you have can own a home. Were you aware of this? And in Mexico, their Social Security goes up, their Social Security goes in to paying for a home. So you can actually use your Social Security money as a down payment on your house. And then it goes to paying the payment on your house. So it's all run by the government. It's a really amazing system. So it makes it so almost anybody who has a job can get a house. Well, I guess, yeah, okay. Well, we work closely with various government agencies, and now we have a program that educates you and your staff about the growth of the Mexican economy, why you should have more pride in Mexico, and how almost every employee can afford now to own a home. If your employees own homes, they are more tied to the job and need to keep it even more. Do you like keeping good staff around? Third question you can't say no to. Of course. Then what I'd like to do is to make this program available to your entire staff. Here's how we do it. You send out a memo to make an announcement to your staff members. We will supply the announcement and the memo. Then we come by at lunch and after work and we talk to your staff. You win from this as people who own their own homes are better citizens, better employees, more stable, and more dependent upon their job. Does that make sense to you? Of course it does. Great. Then we could get in there in the next week or so and get started. I'll get you over the announcement and the memo. So then the memo comes and it says to all staff from management, so this is you supplying them. Let's not leave anything to chance here. Let's control every single aspect of it. I'll leave nothing up to chance in any situation, as you're about to see over the next 11 sessions. I don't leave anything up to the salespeople. I don't leave it up to the marketing. Everything is controlled like a machine. That's what you want to have, machine-like precision. Our company is hosting a free program that will show you all how you can be wealthier, more productive, happier, and reduce personal stress. Pretty nice promises, right? This program will also show you how the Mexican government now has programs that make it possible for a vast majority of you to own your own home. Please arrange your schedule to be at this important meeting. You will be very grateful for the information you learn. When to attend, fill in the date and time here. So you send that over. So the core story actually doubles referrals in every case. So I say it this way, and I started off saying this to chiropractors. When you have a patient, picture that all your patients are like salespeople. How well have you trained them to represent you out there in the marketplace? So all of your people, everybody who sees this, is now much better trained to represent you out in the marketplace, and how well have you trained them? So let's show this to everybody we can, was my philosophy. So before we came along, they only invited those who qualified. We say invite everyone. So can anyone tell me the most potent form of marketing? There you go, word of mouth, right? So let's train everyone we can on why they want to buy a house. Let's let everyone possible see that core story. If it is well designed, as is HomeX's, I mean, it's full of fantastic information. You see this thing, you will run out and buy a house. It shows that infancy death, by the way, in a crowded household is 400% more likely. Children who are raised in crowded households are twice as likely to do drugs and drink alcohol. I mean, it goes on and on. It's all this stuff in their core story. It's like, it's so scary. We used it in their radio ads, and it increased the response from the radio 16,000% in a single week. We went from getting 7 leads in the entire month prior to using it to getting, I don't even know, 1,800, some unbelievable number. So the mailers soften the market. That's the job of marketing. And in corporate, you know, it's done by corporate who will work with them for one-person armies. You are the marketing department. Okay, the strategist plans everything. There's another part of this, it's called a 2-tier strategy. For some of you, you have those big dream clients you'd like to have, but you also have a lot of little clients, and maybe you want to just go after both. So we've had it where, you know, they're going after the smaller ones that they can get every day, and then on the side you have your Dream 100 effort. Okay, so that workshop's in your book.
Pause the video now and proceed with the workshop.
So in summary, the Dream 100 or Best Buyer strategy is the fastest, easiest way to build any company. I cannot tell you how many times we've doubled sales using this concept, but it requires what kind of discipline? Okay, really important. Plan it in advance, get the gifts all at once. They are cheaper that way, and now you're committed to using them. If you have boxes of yo-yos, you're going to find a way to use them. Okay, go after them with a vengeance. Never stop until you get what you want. That's how you do a Dream 100 effort. Like I said, if you fail at this, it's going to be because you lack what kind of discipline? Okay, be the super strategist every step of the way. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.